Hi friends, so today I'm going to be teaching how I draw line art with line variation. If everyone's had that experience where they sketch something, it looks really cool, but then once they ink something, it's like, what happened? That's because of line weight. So line weight is basically the thickness of your brush, and I will be going over different styles for a normal line brush, and then I'll be actually going over techniques for line variation. Before I start, this video is not about shading. Most of it is going to just be the line work itself. One of the 4 alternative ways to use one consistent line weight is 1, using disconnected lines. So instead of struggling to get those corners, you can actually just have a base color fill in those lines for you. I see these often with doodle styles and chibi styles, and it can create a sort of cozy feel. It also is a good tool for sketching instead of wasting a lot of time getting confused with trying to figure out what kind of proportions to use. Just make sure to do spaces between the lines so it's easier for your brain. Another way is doing thin lines with a consistent line weight and flat color but high texture. In Clip Studio Paint, you can go under Filter, Render, and Perlin Noise in another layer, and then just turn down the opacity, and it looks nice. Another way of doing textures is going on Google and picking out something with a high pixel count, and then putting it into another layer above, and then going under layers and choosing normal to overlay. This is one of my personal favorite styles I've drawn in, and I think it gives a traditional look. If you've seen medieval scripts or posters or advertisements from ye old days, you'll notice you don't need a lot of line variation for it to look good. Another alternative is thin lines, but not exactly straight lines. And then you want to take a brush and not fill in where the outline would be, but just enough where you can tell different colors are. Another example is cartoons and comics. Usually they'll have thick black lines to differentiate the characters from the background, and this is great if you want your characters to pop. Now, rules for line variation. Line variation and weight can be a bit daunting because the amount of details, but when you break it down, it's actually quite simple. The idea is that the quicker that you draw, the thinner your line is going to be, and the slower you draw, the thicker the line's going to be. And when you think of it like driving a car, when you go around each corner, your car slows down. So your pen's going to slow down too. So imagine fast straight line and then slow thick turn. Slow, fast. Now, if you're like me and you don't have an art tablet or thicker pens and markers, you can just draw a normal line and then draw in the shape of the line from thin, thick, thin, and fill it in that way. It takes longer, but it still works. With that, you want to outline the character silhouette with the thickest lines you can. This helps differentiate them from the background and other characters. And some people do stop here where the outer line's just thick and then all the inner lines are thin. And you want to think of it like framing where your workspace is, sort of like a puzzle. You always want to get the edges and the corners before you work yourself out to in. Something else that's common in manga and illustrations is white borders from the background. After that, you want to shade in triangles where any lines meet. So this could be underneath the bangs, this could be the jawline, or this can be like the be folds and clothes, this can be the ears, but anywhere that you see there is a overlap. The next thing that you want to do is put a light source. I doodle a sun, or I put an arrow where the light's coming from, and then from the opposite of where that light source is where all the thick lines are going to be. So for example, if I put the light source here, anything that's opposite of that is going to be thicker. And then if you have two light sources, put the two arrows there, and then anywhere that it doesn't face is going to be the darkest. Another great way to give art a little more pop is coloring the line art. Some styles will just be the base color just a lot darker, and they'll leave the border black. Some other styles will use light browns, or they'll be dark blue or light black, sometimes a dark purple. My last tip is when you're shading, as this is not a shading video, you can just simply draw out where you want to shade, and then make sure that the lines are vertically down or they're diagonal to keep it consistent. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and if anyone needs any help, just comment down below and I'll try to get back as soon as I can. A little busy sometimes, but happy 2025. It has been a very long year, and whatever you want to do in 2026, here's to doing your best. Ciao!